Well, guys, the Great Ones quote still rings true today, but for some reason in beer league, shooting all the time kind of is frowned upon and has a little bit of a weird stigma. Trust me, I know. I'm quite a shooter. But this video is going to help you break it down and kind of help you get out of that mindset that shooting is selfish. Let's let that puck fly. Beer league bum style.
All right, guys, what's going on? Justin, aka Boomer, Beer League Bum Hockey Reviews. And I get this in DMs and I get it on requests on the comments on the channel. I don't know why. I'm not that great. I'm just a beer league bum. But a lot of people want to know how I shoot, how I break down my shot, kind of the reasoning behind the way I shoot. Yes, I'm no pro. Yes, I'm no Austin Matthews. But the one thing that I've really worked on over the years is my shot. And I use 3 different types of shooting that I'm going to go over for the training here today to try and help break it down for you guys and hopefully help you step by step so you can see why I use each shot, how I use each shot, and of course how I developed each shot. So stick around. You're going to see how this beer league bum scores 100 goals per season. 100 goals? Man, this guy is pretentious. This beer league guy. Hockey influencer here, and I just wanted to remind everybody that sometimes my videos are tailored to more of a beginner or somebody that just wants to learn or, see something like how I shoot and just wants me to break it down. So if that's not for you this time, it's all good. Sometimes hockey influencer has to help out the newcomers, the beginners, or those who want to learn. So I apologize if this video is not for you, but don't worry, there's plenty more hockey influencer videos coming, like the Novium, the ASV Pro sticks, and all sorts of stuff. So hang tight. This one is all about shooting. So everybody wants to know how I shoot so dang hard. Well, this is how right here, baby. That's okay. Maybe I'm a little bit joking, but yes, at the end of the day, the one thing that I always train is rotational power and arm strength. Shooting, of course, comes from the whole body. It comes from the legs. It comes from the core. But the one thing I noticed is that if you work on your straight arm strength, your wrist strength, and then your core rotation, that's where you're going to generate the most power. Then add that to your stick type, your stick flex, and then your shooting technique, which we're going to go over, and then you'll be able to be shooting absolute rockets. But it does start with overall strength. I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I'm about 205 pounds right now, but I do have a lot of rotational power that I've always developed over the years. Okay, so back in the day when I was developing my shot, I did do a lot of gym exercises for shot rotational power. I will throw those in for you guys so you guys can see what I was doing. I generally don't do those anymore. I only recommend it to build your base strength if it's something you've never done. So let's throw those in the video. You can see what I'm doing. That's how you add the rotational strength. We'll go from there.
All right, guys, so you want to add power to your rotation. Is this exercise with a rope mimics cramping down onto your stick when you're flexing it. And the whole point here is to just add downward force to your core. I used to do this all the time when I was up and coming, just working on my shot. I was just trying to mimic the actual action of taking a shot with as much weight as possible. So you want to do as little reps as possible here, 6, 7, 8, with as heavy weight as possible, because in a game, you're only doing this once when you let a shot go. This is not endurance training. This is very hardcore strength rotation training. Go as heavy as you can. So then we're going to do the same thing, basically holding a rope, practicing like we're coming around, rotating with the stick, where you'd kind of be holding it as you came down for that slap shot. So this just gets you used to having straight arm strength with a flexed rope, which you're using to mimic the stick. Now you can also do this with an actual bar if you want. I also did that. I just preferred the rope. It just was easier on my wrists and it's a little bit longer. So it's a little more indicative of where the actual stick would be held. So again, just strength training, rotational power here. That's what you're trying to accomplish. This type of training when you're buckling down like that will help on these types of shots when maybe you kind of misfired and you didn't get all of it, but at least that rotation got all the way around with as much force as possible.
So now that we've talked about the rotational strength exercises, again, I don't do these anymore. I don't need to. My core is really strong. But I still do my wrist and forearm work for all the snapping that goes on when you're doing a rotation. And the reason is because I have rheumatoid arthritis, my wrists and my hands can kind of go in and out of strength, and I have to keep them really strong. But you need to be able to grip your stick extremely well so you don't end up with rotation on shooting. That's how you flub shots, and that's how you kind of look a little bit silly when you're shooting and not actually bending the stick. So I'll go over those quick, just a couple forearm and wrist exercises right now.
All right, let's hit the gym and do some more weird stuff for forearms. But look, at the end of the day, guys, this type of forearm articulation is where a lot of your power comes from in flexing the stick with just your wrists. So I definitely recommend doing this with some, decent weight, do some low reps, and just keep on both sides for sure, and just make sure that this type of power is just developed, because it's night and day. When I started doing this years ago, my shot just jumped, and now snapshots and wrist shots are just that much better because my wrists are staying strong. And somebody like me with rheumatoid arthritis, it's really important to just keep my wrist strong anyway. So I always add this in my arm day. I always do a couple different exercises. These are just 3 variations. I recommend that you do it and you just work your forearms, and your shot will thank you. So then what I do in warm up here, guys, in the orange and white here, is that I always work on using that wrist strength in little snapper type shots using basically only my wrists. So in all of these, it's just, quick little snappers, just utilizing that strength and just seeing how it's improved and seeing if it feels better, stronger, a little more efficient, etc. So that's what I did every warm up for quite some time to get used to shooting in this manner. All right, guys, when it comes to shooting, it's about changing your mindset to always know what you're going to do when you get the puck as a shooter. We're going to go over the 3 types of shots that I use, 90% of the time. But also, when I get the puck, I'm always aware of where I'm going to take it, depending on where I get it, and how and what shot I'm going to use. And that's the difference between a good goal scorer and somebody that just shoots occasionally. A mindset of a shooter is knowing what you're going to do when you get the puck. If I'm on the left side as a left winger, I'm going to use my dragging wrist shot more. If I'm cutting towards the middle and going down the right side, and I'm usually a left winger, but I'm cutting to the right, I'll use my half snapper. If I have a really good rush towards the blue line with full stride, full power available, I will let the slapper go. So I always know what I'm going to do with my shot before I get the puck. So you have to change your mindset and think well ahead of the time and be like, this is what I'm going to do depending on where I am.
All right, guys, we got all that out of the way. Now let's talk about the 3 shots that I actually use. I use 3 in my arsenal, and I use 2 more than others. The first, of course, is my big slap shot. That's one of my most used one, and it's always in a moving motion for power. Observe. When you're skating ahead and you push the puck ahead and then you hit it, while moving forward, you get far more power. You can see just kind of standing here, not really. But if I'm skating towards the net, and then I let a shot go, it's always going to be far more effective. That's the first shot. My second shot is my most used shot, and I'll throw in some live barn footage so you can see it. And it works really well with a hybrid or mid-kick stick. It doesn't work so well with a low kick. The reason I like this shot is it's very, very consistent. Generally speaking, you do not miss shoot. If you're doing a wrist shot and the puck is staying on your stick, you can miss shoot sometimes. The puck can go off, it can come in, maybe it goes ahead of the blade a little bit and you miss some of the power. This shot is what I call kind of my half slap or snapshot. And it always starts about here, and it's just a quick release shot. I'll look at the net, I'll be skating in, and it's like that. It's not a drag, it's not a slap shot, but it's a very, very quick one. The reason I recommend this shot is it's extremely consistent for somebody learning to shoot in beer league and rec hockey. You'll see most people these days, it's on this leg, arm out, shot. Very high technique shot. What I just showed you is extremely easy, and with the type of stick that you pick, mid-kick good flex, you get a lot of power.
Here's two quick examples of this style of shot where I just get the little tiny little half clapper snapshot off. I'm not focused on dragging and bringing the puck in and shooting off the toe. I'm shooting mid blade with about 6 to 10 inches off the ice.
My third shot that is not used very often, and it's usually used when I'm a left wing and I go around, is the dragging wrist shot off this leg. It's a very high technique shot. If you're new, you can screw it up a lot and you can miss. And unfortunately, it's not ideal for, let's say, a lower level, but it's something you should always work on. As you're coming down and you get from here, it's off this leg, and we'll go through all the technique to do it. But here's the shot really quick. That's off the off leg, as they say. So those are the 3 shots that I use. Let's break them all down.
Okay, I'm going to repeat this one 3 times just because I really like how I drag this towards myself and then keep the puck on the blade and then do a little bit of a dragging wrist shot. But on all 3 of these examples, I always keep the puck on the blade and then I shoot on my off leg and I bring it in a couple inches and then release off the toe. So that's my dragging wrist shot. You know, the new age style of shooting is to bring it really in close to the body and then release really far out with the hands, which I'll get into here in a minute.
Now, of course, my shot is the slap shot. Let's break it down. So the technique for the slap shot is always going to be full stride. As you come in, you see the puck is moving towards the goal. And that's where your power comes from, full stride. There's no point in taking a slap shot, catching at the blue line, loading up, and shooting. You don't generate that much power. The sticks these days are designed to just flick that and get it on net. And most people don't shoot that well anyway. Always use the slap shot in full rush mode, pushing ahead, then letting it go.
Something of pretty massive importance here, guys, is a lot of beer leaguers are flubbing their slap shots for 2 reasons. They hit the heel or they hit the toe. The slap shot is where the blade is right in the middle, where you're starting to get that open face of the blade. That's going to give you the riser. If you hit the toe, you'll flub it. If you hit the heel, it's going to be a worm burner.
Okay, I just broke it down for you guys, but as you can see, my arm stays bent coming up. And the reason it stays bent is because this is extremely uncomfortable. When I see people shooting with a straight arm, they actually just like flood the shot. You'll see that I don't actually pull a straight arm until I get to the bottom when it actually matters. And again, rotational power. As you come down, it's all this rotation is where the actual shot power comes from. Now we're adding the hybrid kick, and right now I'm using a 75 flex. My wrists are really, really sore lately. I'm getting a lot of flex on that stick, ton of torque. So as you can see when I'm coming through, coming down, stick to the ice, turn, and release. So again, I don't care who you are as a goalie, in beer league hockey, if you're gonna come in full stride and let a clapper go with that technique, you're gonna get one most of the time. So just to reiterate, the slap shot is not dead. I use it all the time. It's helpful for me because my wrist hurts sometimes, helps me generate more power. It's all about in stride, getting it off quickly, and it's worth it. Don't think like the NHL, old school type thinking, or new school in terms of you can't get it off. This is beer league or rec hockey. If you're me, 40 years old, playing rec, you can get that shot off. And it works all the time. Look at how much power that generates. And all I did was a little half clapper, and I used the exact same technique. It's small, go. This is all on the right correct leg. Old school shooting style. Works extremely well, and it's very consistent for beer league. All right, here's a couple, really quick. Very consistent shot. So I use this shot 90% of the time because it's just very, very consistent, and I can pick where I want it in a split second.
So technique is very similar to the slap shot in that you're using your correct leg, as old school shooters would say. The only difference is you're only going back about a foot or knee height, and you're using the middle of the blade again, maybe slightly 3/4 towards the toe. And the right leg, because I'm a right shooter, is the one that pushes back to establish power forward. So the slap shot and this snapshot style come with a caveat in that it really is tailored to a mid-hybrid kick point and a little bit higher of a flex. If you drop your flex, it doesn't kind of return the same power as well. You know, the next shot I'm going to talk about is better for the lower flex style of shooting and the low kick. But for me, I just gravitate toward mid-kick sticks, and this is how I've tailored my shooting to work with it to be extremely consistent. As well, you can kind of hit lower into the heel for a lower shot and more to the toe for a higher shot without screwing it up.
So those are, of course, my two most used shots. Now, I've joined an over 35 league that actually doesn't allow slap shots. So interesting enough, I've been using my wrist shot a lot more and making sure that I'm just doing a little up here type of shot. You're only allowed to come to the knee. Actually perfect, because that shot that I just showed you is perfect for a no slap shot league, because I can put huge power behind something that nobody else can. The final shot, of course, is new age shooting. Very wristy, whippy stick type of off-leg shooting that is very high-end technique, and it requires a really good breakdown. So let's do one real quick. It's not my ideal shot, but I do use it, and it's usually to the left side. As you can see, it's onto this leg, load the stick, arm out, and then release. It's not ideal because the consistency can be a little bit weird for somebody without great technique. You can be off balance, you can be hit really easily, etc. The AHLers use it because they know what the f they're doing. We, of course, not so much. But it is a very, very lethal shot. So let's break it down.
All right, guys, the idea here is the puck is loaded closer to your close leg as it's dragged in, and then the punching motion of the top hand is what generates the power. The farther your left hand, as I'm a righty, gets out, the more of a torque and bow and arrow effect you can get with this shot. So we'll kind of break it down over a couple so you get what I'm saying in more high speed.
All right, let's finish up shooting with what we maybe call slingshot punch. Why not? It's where you have you're coming down and you're here and you bring the puck in, and where you're getting your leverage is the puck is now here and you can now punch your stick. So by shooting to here and punching, you now flex your stick from the middle, which will flex the proper kick point, and this arm acts like your punch. And now the stick will flex. Sling and punch in just very basic, and then I'll actually go through it. So you're going to sling, punch. See how puck freaking flew? And all I did was pull, punch. Here's a good way to explain this shot. These two pucks are the D-man. You're coming down. You then sling and punch away from the D-man. Again, you're on this foot. So as you come down, sling, punch. Let's do it full. I won't do a really long thing here. Coming down.
Guys, I just want to reiterate here that it's all about this top hand and how far you can get it out away from your body. Patrick Laine is notorious for this, is he gets insane torque on his stick, even at an 87 flex, because his top hand is way out, which allows the stick to flex more. So I get a little bit of stick flex here, and my shot is pretty good, but obviously being a pro, he's just unreal at it. But get yourself in slow-mo and see how far your left hand is getting out if you're a righty, and how much flex you're really getting, and you'll know as you kind of improve this shot.